I was alone when my mother-in-law passed. Then her final letter gave me a heartbreaking gift. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air was thick with dread, as if the walls of the room were closing in on me. I could hear the clock ticking, each second a weight in my chest. It was the sound of my life unraveling. I was sitting in the small hospital room, the sterile smell of antiseptic almost overwhelming. A nurse came in, her eyes sympathetic but distant. "I'm so sorry for your loss," she whispered. But no one was truly prepared for the scene that unfolded next. My mother-in-law, who had always been larger than life, was now a fragile silhouette under the white sheets. I felt a shiver clawing its way down my spine. All the stories she had told me about her youth, the wild laughter, the fierce love, everything was collapsing into stark silence. I leaned forward, trembling hands grasping the side of her bed, searching for any sign of the woman who had embraced me like a daughter. There was nothing. As the night deepened, shadows stretched across the room like ominous figures from a ghost story. I wanted to scream, to shake someone awake, but I was alone. Alone with the weight of regret and grief. There were whispers of family who couldn't make it, of missed calls and last conversations left hanging in the air. My husband was away on business, and I couldn't bear to call him now. Instead, I pulled the blanket closer, feeling cold and empty. Then I noticed it. A small envelope tucked under her pillow, half hidden and untouched. I felt a surge of curiosity, a flutter of hope amidst the despair. My heart raced as I picked it up. The edges were yellowed, as if it had been waiting for this moment, waiting for me. Who was it for? I held it in my shaky hands, feeling the weight of its secrets. With each gentle tear of the paper, an entire lifetime of thoughts unraveled. The handwritten note was delicate, looping letters telling a story I never knew. It felt like she was speaking to me from beyond the grave. As I read, my breath caught in my throat. There were confessions, hidden wishes, and apologies for things left unsaid. There was a part of her I had never seen. In that moment, I couldn't decide if I was being haunted or blessed. What was this gift that felt so like a curse? What were the words that could bind us even in death? I read on, captivated, as the world faded around me. And just as I reached the end, there it was, a name I didn't recognize. A name that turned my whole reality upside down. My heart pounded, and I gasped, feeling the ground shake beneath me. Who was this person? What did it mean? My hands trembled as I reread the final lines, my mind racing with questions, the words echoing in the silence. There was a mystery here, buried deep in her past, and it was all mine to uncover now. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The weight of the letter sat heavy in my chest, the name lingering like a ghost. I knew I couldn't leave the hospital without understanding. With shaking fingers, I folded the note and placed it back under the pillow, a tomb for secrets that had lived too long in the shadows. I glanced at my mother-in-law's peaceful face, so serene, yet now veiled in layers of unspoken truths. Time felt suspended as I left the hospital room. Each step echoed in the sterile corridor, a reminder of what I had lost, but also what I had discovered. My mind raced, plotting a path that led deeper into her past. Seeing her like this so vulnerable had shifted something within me. The journey ahead was uncharted, and I felt a swell of fierce determination that she would not remain alone in her silence. I arrived home, the familiar sense of my little sanctuary feeling foreign without the warmth of her presence. In the living room, her favorite blanket still lay on the couch, a poignant reminder of her eternal absence. I hesitated, then wrapped it around me, feeling enveloped in fleeting memories of laughter and love, now intermingled with the fear of what lay ahead. I paced back and forth, the slight chill from the air conditioning contrasting with the heat of my racing heart. I needed to find out who this mysterious name belonged to, who else had been part of her life, perhaps even part of our lives without us knowing. I reached for my phone, suddenly lost in thought. Should I call my husband? But the last thing I wanted was to disturb him in the midst of his work, burden him more than he already was. Then, a soft knock at the door interrupted my train of thought. It was Rachel, my neighbor and friend. She had always been a light in the darkness, and in this moment, her presence was more comforting than I realized. "Hey, I heard about your mother-in-law. I came to check on you," she said, her eyes soft with compassion. I opened the door wider, inviting her in despite my own tumultuous emotions. "Thank you, Rachel," I whispered, my voice trembling. I just uncovered some things that have left me more confused than ever." She stepped inside and wrapped her arms around me. The warmth anchored me for a moment, the embrace holding off the wave of despair that threatened to pull me under. When I pulled away, she gave me that look of understanding, the kind that only a true friend can offer. "What do you mean?" she asked gently. I hesitated, feeling the weight of the letter tucked in my mind like a burden I wasn't ready to share. "I found a letter from my mother-in-law. It had a name in it, someone I don't know. I want to find out who this person is, what they meant to her." She regarded me thoughtfully, her brow furrowing slightly. "That sounds important. Do you need help?" I opened my mouth to decline, to assure her I could handle it alone, but I saw the sincerity in her eyes. Sometimes, it felt easier to bear the weight of the world when you had someone to carry part of it with you, even just for a while. "Maybe I do," I admitted. Together, we sat on the couch with her laptop, spilling the secrets of my mother-in-law's letter into the digital world. The name was a unique one I was certain we could trace. My heart thundered with every click as I searched online for any hint of who this mystery person could be. In the quiet of the living room, unexpected kindness flowed between us like a lifeline. Rachel shared stories of her own family, how she had learned to navigate through her grandfather's lost history, a scavenger hunt of love. I felt the heaviness in my heart lighten, if only for a moment, as she spoke of uncovering new relatives and unexpected truths. Then, gathered in that moment of laughter and shared sorrows, a notification dinged from the laptop. An article popped up. Someone with the same last name as the name from the letter had recently passed away in a nearby town. My breath caught in my throat, a sick intertwining of excitement and apprehension coursing through me. As I read, my hands froze. The woman mentioned in the article was connected to a scandal that rocked her community decades ago. She was once a friend of my mother-in-law's. What had happened? Why was she a part of my mother-in-law's story? The screen blurred as I realized this revelation had the power to unravel everything I thought I knew. "Are you okay?" Rachel asked, noticing my silence. "What if there's more?" I murmured, my eyes wide with the implications. I could feel the walls closing in again, the shadows creeping back into my heart. There was no turning back now. I would have to follow this trail wherever it led, no matter how dark or tangled the path might be. But just as the weight of unresolved emotions crashed back down around me, my phone buzzed an incoming message. I picked it up, confusion washing over me. It was an unknown number. I opened it cautiously, my heart raced when I read the first line. "I think we need to talk about her." Staring at the glowing screen, my breath caught. Who was this person? What did they want to tell me? The cliffhanger of that moment plunging me into new depths of uncertainty. I was teetering on the edge of a revelation that could shatter the fragile foundation I was rebuilding. The tension in the air thickened with each passing second as I stared at the message on my phone, unable to comprehend the words staring back at me. My heart thudded violently against my chest, each beat a reminder of how swiftly the ground felt like it might give beneath me. Rachel peered over my shoulder, curiosity evident in her gaze, but I was lost in the storm of emotions swirling within me. "Who is it?" she asked, her voice no louder than a whisper, as if afraid to disturb the fragile moment hanging between us. That I blinked, forcing myself to focus. The sender was someone I didn't recognize, a stranger promising knowledge tied to the threads of my mother-in-law's life. My hands trembled as I typed back a cautious reply. "Who is this?" The seconds stretched painfully as we waited, Rachel's concerned eyes darting between my face and the screen. Then, the response lit up the screen like a spark igniting dry brush. I knew her well. There are things you should understand before you go digging. Meet me tomorrow at the cafe on Maple Street, 2 p.m. It's important. My breath hitched. My instinct screamed at me to run the other way, to tuck the letter away and forget the name altogether. I had already stumbled into shadows I hadn't wanted to confront. The pieces of my mother-in-law's life felt too intimate to unravel. But I could feel the gravity of the situation. This was a thread I had to follow. Rachel broke through my inner turmoil. You should go. This could be the answer you're looking for. But what if it leads to more questions? More pain? The doubt tumbled out, raw and unrefined. Or it could lead to healing, she countered softly, her eyes steady on mine. You deserve to know her truth. Don't let fear decide for you. Her conviction pierced through my apprehension, nudging me toward a fragile hope, a flicker of light amidst the dark uncertainty. I straightened, a new determination rising within me. I'll go. The next day unfurled slowly, each hour dragging with the weight of anticipation. I oscillated between fear and excitement, imagining the conversation that awaited me. With every tick of the clock, 1,000 scenarios played out in my mind. Would the stranger be kind? Would they unravel the woman my mother-in-law had been behind closed doors? I dressed carefully, slipping into a light sweater, something to shield me from the chill of both the cafe's air conditioning and my own nerves. As I arrived at the cafe, the comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee wrapped around me, offering a brief semblance of warmth. I scanned the room, adrenaline bubbling beneath the surface, pushing me forward toward a table in the far corner. My heart raced as I spotted a figure, a middle-aged woman with graying hair pulled back into a tight bun, deep lines etching her face with stories of her own. When our eyes met, she offered a curt nod, a flicker of something unreadable passing between us. I slid into the chair opposite her, and for a moment, the world around us faded into the background. I'm glad you came, she began, her voice steady but laced with unease. There are things you need to know about your mother-in-law, things she never wanted you to discover. My heart sank as I prepared for the tumult of emotions I'd have to navigate. What do you know? I managed to ask, my throat dry, the shadows creeping closer as the weight of dread settled over me. More than I should, she replied, her gaze unwavering. Your mother-in-law was woven into a story that bursts with love but is tangled in regret. She cut ties with much of it. But to understand her, you must understand where she came from. My mind raced, emotions began to bubble. Why didn't she tell us? The disappointment seeped into my voice, an invisible barrier rising between my heart and the truth. Because some truths are buried too deep, she whispered, gripping her coffee cup as if it were a lifeline. And they can hurt the ones we love most. The stranger's words hung heavily in the air, drawing a tight breath from my lungs. With each beat of my heart, I felt the curtain of my mother-in-law's life being pulled back, unveiling a past that could alter everything. Just as I was about to dive deeper, the cafe door swung open with a jolt. A flash of recognition sparked as I caught sight of the figure that stepped inside, the very person I had been dreading to see, me husband. His eyes scanned the room and landed on me, confusion filling his features. What are you doing here? He asked, the shock evident as he approached. Panic surged through me. I couldn't spill the secrets yet, not without first understanding them myself. His presence was a surprise, perhaps even a danger to the fragile conversation. And at that moment, everything shifted as I realized that unfolding her past might threaten not just my own heart but the very fabric of my family. The weight of uncertainty loomed ominously, and all I could do was hold my breath as the walls of my world began to tremble. The moment stretched painfully, the air thick with the taste of unreleased confessions. My husband, Alex, stood between us like an unwelcome ghost, dissecting the small bubble of intimacy I had formed with the stranger at the table. I could see the questions swirling in his eyes, the worry creasing his brow as he took in the sight of me seated across from this enigmatic woman. Who is she? He asked, a note of wariness creeping into his voice that my mind raced. I hadn't even begun to grapple with the secrets of my mother-in-law's life, and now I was tasked with the impossible choice of preservation or revelation. The force of the moment, this unexpected collision of my two worlds, felt like a thunderclap, threatening to tear apart the thin veil of understanding I had built around my grief. "Alex, I hesitated, frantically searching for the right words. "It's complicated." The stranger sensed the tension, and her sharp gaze flickered from Alex to me, silently beckoning me not to shy away from the truth. "I've been discussing your mother-in-law's life," she said, each word deliberate, drawing Alex's full attention. "There are details about her past that might be important for both of you to hear together." His face hardened, confusion morphing into distrust. "What are you talking about?" The weight of the conversation threatened to implode under the scrutiny of his gaze. I wanted to scream, to pour out everything I had learned. But it felt like diving into murky waters without knowing how deep the abyss went. "Alex, please," I reached for him, hoping to bridge the growing chasm between us. But he stepped back, putting distance between us as if he needed room to breathe. "I think it's better if we leave." His tone was clipped, a layer of disappointment crashing down like a tidal wave. I felt myself falter, the ember of hope that had ignited within me snuffed out in an instant. The stranger watched us closely, and with a quiet resolve, she said, "Sometimes the past doesn't let go easily. It demands to be confronted, even when we're not ready. You should consider that." With a sharp tilt of my head, I was gripped by her words, realizing how true they rang. Yet Alex's impatience grew, the tension spiraling into something more volatile. "Let's go," he urged, his voice rising slightly above the hum of cafe chatter. I wanted to cling to the remnants of the discussion. "No, Alex," I started, but my words fell flat against the rusted armor he had donned. As I stood up, the stranger offered a small smile, almost sympathetic, but it did nothing to ease the raw ache spreading through me. What did she know? Just as I was beginning to grasp the concept of understanding my mother-in-law's truth, it slipped through my fingers like sand. Alex's tense eyes remained locked onto mine, pleading with me to leave whatever secrets lay here behind. The facade of my emotions wavered under his scrutiny, and I felt myself crumble, powerless to assert my need for answers. That we stepped into the brisk afternoon air, the weight of the cafe's warmth replaced by the chill of unresolved questions swirling around us. The lively streets once comforting now felt alien, magnifying our separation. My heart raced, grappling with the need to explain, to find solace in his understanding, but the words felt trapped in my throat, suffocated by fear of what I might unleash. "I need to know more," I finally breathed, desperate to make him see what was at stake. "About her. About everything." He stopped abruptly, and for a fleeting moment, I could see the flicker of his concern. "What do you mean? This doesn't feel right, and we shouldn't be discussing her life with strangers." But she wanted to tell me something important. The emotion edged into my voice, raw and biting. "She loved you, Alex, and you deserve to know who she truly was." Alex turned away, frustration rippling through him. "Why didn't she tell us while she was alive?" he challenged, pain cresting on the waves of his words. "Maybe she felt it was too late, or maybe it was never the right moment," I responded, caught between defending my mother-in-law and soothing my husband. That I could see the shadows of struggle flit across his face, the tension wrestling with his love for me. "It feels like you're chasing ghosts." My heart fell at that metaphor. The familiarity echoed painfully, as if I had chased shadows my entire life. I reached out, but he held firm, his defenses fortified. "Just let's go home." As we walked in silence, the distance between us felt insurmountable. I could almost hear the weight of unsaid words, filling the space like a wall we were constructing together. When we arrived home, the warmth of our house seemed to mock the chill in my heart. As I stepped inside, a tight anxiety gripped me. Glancing up at Alex, I could hardly bear the sight of his hardened expression. Just as I was about to break the suffocating silence, a ping echoed from my phone, slicing through my thoughts. I retrieved it, the world narrowing down to that glowing screen. Another message from the stranger. "Come find me. There's more you need to see. Your mother-in-law's truth is in her hands, and you may not have much time left." A shockwave coursed through me, freezing the air in the room. I glanced at Alex, the weight of the unknown pressing down heavily on my chest, and in that moment, I felt the frenzy of all-consuming secrets pulling at the edges of my sanity. How could I unravel this alone, especially when the commitment of my marriage was at risk? Everything within me screamed to leave nothing unturned, yet I stood shackled by fear of what the next discovery might reveal. The walls of our home felt more like a cage than a sanctuary, the air thick with unspoken words echoing off the tiled floors. I stared at the message on my phone, my heart drumming in my ears as if it were pleading for action. The weight of her cryptic invitation settled like a stone in my gut. Your mother-in-law's truth is in her hands, and you may not have much time left. What did that mean? I glanced at Alex, whose face remained a mask of frustration and confusion. How could I explain the pull that the stranger had on me? The way she had managed to pry open the door to mysteries I hadn't even known existed until now? It was as if a part of me, long dormant, had awakened, demanding to be acknowledged, demanding to pursue every whisper of truth. Who was that? Alex asked, breaking the silence, though his voice carried a thick layer of resentment that made my stomach turn. It's the woman from the cafe, I admitted, my words creeping out cautiously. She says there's more to know. About your mom's life. That he looked at me with a jumble of emotion, suspicion and hurt twisting together in his deep brown eyes. You really think someone else knows more about my mother than we did? This feels wrong, Leah. That I could hear the quivering thread of pain in his voice, the sting of betrayal. And perhaps that was precisely what I had to face within myself. I don't want to replace you in her story, I rushed to say, but I can't ignore this. What if it's something crucial? Something you could benefit from knowing? He shook his head, dismissing my passion as though it were an inconvenience. I think this is just making it worse. Maybe it's best if we leave it buried. The despair tugged at my heart, threatening to fracture the bone-deep connection we shared. I didn't want to dissect our bond with secrets, but buried truths had a way of seeking the light. I had learned that much from my own life. Alex, please, I whispered, daring to step closer. What if it changes everything? What if it helps us understand her better, even in her absence? A heavy silence hung between us, thick with the unresolved conflict that seemed to stretch like a chasm wide and unbridgeable. I held my breath, hoping to catch a glimpse of willingness in his eyes, but there was only resolve. I don't know what to believe anymore, Leah, he finally offered, his voice low and heavy. But if this is about chasing ghosts, how can you expect me to tag along? I felt as if each heartbeat drummed a frantic message, urging persuasion, yet I couldn't shake the dread of unearthing something that might unravel us further. I pressed my fingers to my temples, anxiety tightening my chest like a noose. Maybe I need to go alone. My voice trembled as I spoke the words. Maybe I need to do this for you, for both of us. Are you serious? His incredulous expression said what his words wouldn't, though. Could I even imagine facing the unknown by myself? But my spirit, relentless and stubborn, pushed through the uncertainty. I have to try. For your mom. For me. For us, I insisted, willing to wade into the depths of shadowed memories, searching for light amidst the uncertainty. He stepped back, the hurt evident in the set of his jaw. Then do what you want. Just know that I can't join you on this madness. I won't be a part of digging up her past. The chasm widened, turning every unsaid word into a jagged edge that could cut us apart. And in that moment, a new resolve blossomed within me. I'll be careful, I promised, though I wasn't sure how I could protect our hearts from the fallout of whatever lay ahead. As night fell and the warm glow of our living room flickered around us, the message illuminated a new path, one that I had to navigate alone. My phone buzzed again, a soft reminder that the stranger awaited, her presence illuminating the path I was drawn to take. The world outside our home rippled with darkness, but beneath it all, a thread of hope tightened around my heart. I took a deep breath, steeling myself against the unknown, turning one last time to Alex before stepping out into the cool, night air. Please, be safe, he murmured. The words almost a prayer. Before I could respond, a chill swept across the street as a flicker of movement caught my eye. I squinted into the shadows, spotting a figure slipping away into the night, a silhouette that felt eerily familiar. The moment coiled around me, igniting concern that turned the air stale and heavy. Alex, I whispered, my voice trembling. Do you see that? But when I turned back, he had vanished inside, closing the door of our home behind him, leaving me to grapple with the weight of impending revelations alone. My heart raced as I took a step into the unknown, and the truth beckoned me forward, relentless in its unresolved story that lay before me. The night air was crisp as I walked, each step echoing in the hollow silence that enveloped me. The world felt both eerie and charged, an electric tension seeming to hum beneath my skin. I could hardly push the image of Alex's hurt face out of my mind. The unresolved emotions lingered like a bitter aftertaste with each breath, stinging my lungs as I moved closer to the cafe where the stranger awaited me. As I reached the familiar brick facade, its warmth contrasted sharply with the chill pressing against my back. My heart thumped a dissonant rhythm, a cacophony of uncertainty mingling with anticipation. What would this woman reveal? What part of my mother-in-law's life had remained hidden from us all? The cafe's interior glowed softly, a beacon in the encroaching darkness. I hesitated at the entrance, my mind a whirlpool of doubts and questions. Would I truly find answers, or merely summon more ghosts from the shadows? I pushed through the door, the familiar scent of coffee mingling with baked pastries wrapping around me like a comforting cloak. And there she was, the woman with the knowing eyes. She sat at a corner table, a sepia-toned photograph spread out in front of her. Her gaze lifted, and a smile flickered across her lips, but something behind her smile indicated it held the weight of sorrow. "Leah," she greeted, her voice soft yet commanding. "I'm glad you came." That I felt a small thrill of rebellion ripple through me, but that warmth was quickly tempered with the reality of what I might uncover. "You said you know things about my mother-in-law." Her eyes darkened slightly, an array of emotions flickering across her features. "Yes. But understanding those things requires courage. Are you ready for what you might uncover?" My pulse quickened. It felt like a challenge, one I had no choice but to accept. "I have to know." "For Alex, love often leads us into the most unexpected places," she said, and the weight of her words settled heavily between us. "And sometimes it is those shadows that hold the light we desperately need." That I nodded, holding my breath as I stepped closer and peered at the photograph she'd placed on the table. It was worn and faded, depicting a younger version of Alex's mother, and beside her stood a man I had never seen before. The corners of my mouth twitched, but they didn't find a smile. Instead, the figure bore a resemblance to Alex, one that sent a shiver creeping down my spine. "Who is this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "His name is James," she replied, her eyes misting with an emotion I couldn't quite place. "Your mother-in-law loved him deeply but never spoke of him after the accident." The word accident dropped like a stone in the still air. "What kind of accident?" She leaned forward, the warmth of her presence an anchor in that moment of rising storm. "One that changed everything. She married, had a family, but he never left her thoughts. There were things between them that wore hard in her heart, secrets that dimmed her light, even from those closest to her." Each word felt like a layer of ice encasing my heart, spreading tendrils of cold through my veins as I grappled with the reality of a life Alex had never known his mother lived. "What happened to him? How deeply do you want to know, Leah?" she murmured, locking her gaze onto mine, as if peering into the depths of my soul. "Are you willing to face the pain that can accompany knowing the past?" As I met her scrutiny, a myriad of emotions surged within me: fear, sorrow, curiosity, and yet a burgeoning sense of purpose. Alex had always said I was drawn to unraveling mysteries, pushing past the surface, but I dreaded the possibility of adding to our pain. I finally breathed, steeling myself. "I'm ready." "For both of us." The woman leaned back, her expression softening, but there was a flicker of something else: sadness, perhaps, or a glimmer of pity. "Very well. It will hurt to stand in the light of what was hidden, but only there can you find the truth." She slid the photograph toward me, the surface capturing the light as if it were an ocean of memories trapped within the confines of a single moment in time. I couldn't help but reach out, my fingers brushing against the faded edge, and as I did, the cafe suddenly felt smaller, the air heavier with the weight of the truth that was still shrouded in secrecy. And then my phone buzzed, persistent and demanding in the quiet of the cafe. I fished it out, and noticed a text from Alex. "Where did you go? I can't stop thinking about you." A rush of conflicting emotions surged within me, tugging my heart in two directions. Here I was, ready to unveil the past, yet faced with the unrelenting worry for the future I might unravel further with what I might find. As I began typing a response, a sudden movement caught my eye. The same figure I had seen before, the silhouette against the night, stepped into the cafe through the window. I squinted, recognizing it almost instantaneously. My breath caught as I registered his features. "James?" I whispered, Suddenly caught in a web of revelations and haunting possibilities, the figure turned, and the air thickened with the weight of the moment, bringing a new crisis to the surface, a question that would change everything I thought I knew. The photo slipped from my grasp, clattering loudly onto the table as I staggered backward, stricken by the convergence of the past and present. My heart raced, a wild drum in my chest, as I realized everything I thought was anchored in certainty was merely an illusion, ready to shatter. The cafe's warmth retreated as I felt the chill of disbelief wash over me. James. The man in the photograph, the ghost from my mother-in-law's secluded past, stood just a few feet away, his face illuminated by the soft glow of the overhead lights. Time froze, my mind whirring and stuttering like a damaged engine as I tried to grasp the gravity of the moment. That he seemed different in person, the vibrant laughter echoing in the depths of my memory, coupled with the haunting sorrow in his eyes, now infused my perception with an unsettling intensity. How could this man, believed to be lost to the past, now be standing in front of me? I shook my head slightly as if it would somehow clear my thoughts. "Leah?" he asked, his voice like gravel, rough yet familiar. My heart pounded, wrestling with the sentiment that he knew me, even if I had never known him. "How do you know my name?" I whispered, feeling the weight of every gaze in the cafe shift toward the two of us. "Our lives have been intertwined long before you arrived, without you even knowing it," he replied, his eyes piercing through the fog of confusion. "Your mother-in-law spoke of you, of your love for her son. I needed you to see this. To understand." Behind James, the woman from the corner table observed, her expression a mixture of sympathy and concern. I felt the air constricting around me, thoughts battling for dominance. I could only think of Alex, the heaviness of their relationship teetering on the brink of collapse if I couldn't manage this delicate thread of history. "Why?" I finally managed to ask. "Why would you just reappear now?" "Because some truths can no longer remain hidden," he answered, each syllable weighted, as if he was carrying centuries of unspoken regrets. "Your mother-in-law deserved to share her story, to release herself from the shadows that chased her. And that truth now rests with you." My fingers trembled as I picked up the photograph from where it had fallen, the moment frozen in time, now teetering on the precipice of revelation. Jamisa's whispered name carried through the corridors of my mother-in-law's memories. I barely had time to process the enormity of what it meant before I felt a small hand grasp my wrist. Startled, I turned to find an elderly woman at my side, her eyes glistening with tears. "I'm so sorry to intrude," she said, her voice a fragile quiver. "But I couldn't help but overhear your speaking to James." Her words ignited a spark of recognition in James' eyes, a flicker of something lost, perhaps hope or the pain of unfinished stories. "Dorothy," he greeted, his voice rich with warmth yet tinged with the sorrow of shared memories. "Is it truly you?" she murmured, reaching out a shaking hand. After all these years their eyes met, and in that silent exchange lay a wealth of history neither of them had ever truly let go. I felt like an unwitting intruder in this delicate moment, still tethered to the chaos in my own heart. My phone buzzed again, a reminder of the life I had momentarily forgotten, one filled with love but now pierced by the weight of all that was unraveling. "That I need to talk to you, Leah," James insisted gently, his voice pulling me back from the brink of my tumultuous thoughts. "Your family needs to hear this too. The truth is daunting, but it is a gift your mother-in-law kept sealed away for far too long." As hesitant steps took me closer to him, the urgency of the moment bore down on me. A sudden wave of foreboding washed over the cafe, mingling with the warmth of empathy. How could one man reveal so much pain buried beneath a surface of love? And what would that mean for my relationship with Alex? "Wait," I interrupted, feeling an inkling of protectiveness for Alex swelling within me. "What about Alex? How will he feel knowing this?" James' gaze softened, understanding clouding his features. "Every truth has the power to heal, Leah, or to break. But it's vital for him to know his mother was more than simply a caretaker or a distant figure. She loved deeply, and she suffered deeply. This information could change everything for both of you." A knot twisted in my stomach. I suddenly felt trapped, forced to choose between revealing the secrets of the past and helping Alex navigate the emotion that would inevitably follow. Turning back toward the woman who had begun this journey, I could see the longing in her expression. The hope that perhaps another heart could see the light in the encroaching darkness. "What should I do?" I blurted, voicing the tornado of emotions rampaging within me, longing for some clarity, Trust your heart, Leah, she said softly, a tear escaping down her cheek. Sometimes the truth feels like the heaviest burden, but you carry it for those you love. You will find surprising strength in vulnerability. Swallowing back a swell of despair, I realized the choice was pushing me into an uncharted ocean. James took a step closer, the distance between us shrinking until I could feel the heat radiating from his presence. We have unfinished stories, Leah. Please, allow me to share your mother-in-law's truth with you. The breath caught in my throat as I glanced back at the photograph. Alex's mother and the man who had once held her heart, now threading their secrets through my future. Little did I know, those secrets possessed an even darker past than I could fathom, waiting to be unveiled. The coffee shop bustling around us began to fade. I locked my gaze on James, knowing that once I bound myself to the shadows of the past, there would be no turning back. Okay, I finally whispered, my voice quaking with trepidation as the words left my lips, sealing my fate in the duality of love and loss. An impending burden weighed heavily on my shoulders, yet the glimmer of truth sparked a fire of courage within me. What secrets were waiting to burn? As I prepared to delve deeper, a new text buzzed my phone. The name on the screen made my heart stop. It was Alex, and the message sent shivers down my spine. I think I might have found something about my mother too. Something she never told me. The message hung in the air, a ghostly specter whispering of trepidation. I clasped my phone tightly, my fingers shaking as I grappled with the intensity of the moment. His words felt heavy, like the weight of a hammer poised to strike. Whatever revelations Alex had encountered could either bind us together or sever the fragile thread still connecting our hearts. Leah, what is it? James' gaze bore into mine, a mixture of urgency and concern swirling in his deep eyes. The cafe, once buzzing with warmth and laughter, began to recede into a blur, illuminated only by the glow emanating from my screen. That I hesitated, torn between the looming truth James promised and the fresh pain that could surface from Alex's unknown discovery. It's Alex, I managed to murmur, my voice barely above a whisper. James' brow furrowed, the fleeting hope in his eyes thickening with the reality of tangled destinies. What did he say? My breath quickened, grappling with the thought of unfolding a narrative that could shatter Alex's perception of his past. But how could I keep silent? A choice had been made. I needed to be brave, to embrace not just the truths of others but the one looming over our hearts. That he thinks he might have found something about his mother, I finally confessed, my voice cracking and bearing the weight of impending revelations. Something she never told him. James exhaled sharply, a mix of understanding and regret spread across his face. Then we must tread carefully. If this truth intertwines with hers, it could hurt him. But there is also potential for healing, for growth. As I stared into the depths of his eyes, something unusually tender flickered between us, a shared weight of the burdens we bore in our hearts. It beckoned me to embrace the complicated relationship that was slowly forming, a connection through pain, history, and now, hope. With every passing second, I could feel Alex becoming entangled in our stories, and dread tightened like a vice around my chest. With trembling hands, I typed a quick reply to Alex, my heart racing. Please wait. Let's talk in person. I hit send, aware that with his next message, my world might spiral even deeper into the unknown. What do you want to do? James pressed gently, pulling my attention back to him. The room hummed softly around us, and I noticed the elderly woman named Dorothy still watching, her wrinkled hands clasped as if in prayer. Give me a moment, I whispered, needing a fragile moment of solitude amidst the chaos. I dared to step away, heart racing, the weight of decision-making gnawing at my gut. I needed clarity, a glimpse of solace in this storm. As I faced the window, watching the rain trickle down the glass, I struggled against the rising tide of emotions crashing through me. Everything felt daunting. I could break my husband's heart or offer him the chance to finally understand the depths of his mother's love and pain. Yet amidst my inner turmoil, hope flickered, shining like a candle in the dark. Maybe this could pave the way for Alex to discover not just the woman his mother had been, but to forge a renewed connection with me, his wife. We could journey through the edges of heartbreak together, unraveling secrets and weaving fresh threads of understanding. A sudden burst of laughter pulled me from my spiral, and I turned to find James and Dorothy whispering together now, glimmers of joy threading between dark pasts. It occurred to me then that moments of kindness often sprang from the heaviest burdens we carried. James caught my eye and smiled, a hint of light radiating through the murkiness, tethering him to our shared predicament. Their laughter mingled into the air, lifting some of the weight pressing into my chest, revealing that even now, bonds could form through shared histories, yet in that very moment, my phone buzzed again. The ecstatic feeling of lightness was obliterated as dread washed over me. I glanced at the screen, tension threading its way back into my heart. Alex's name loomed again, larger than life. Leah, you have to come home. I need you. I found something in Mom's old letters, and I don't know how to handle it. In that instant, the canvas of our lives shifted. I had a fleeting thought: what if the letters contained the kind of truths that could tear us apart? I couldn't bear the thought of what could happen if he read about things I knew but had been too terrified to share. The urgency clawed at me, pooling in my stomach like venom. James, my voice faltered as I stepped closer, feeling the heat radiating from our shared turmoil. What do I do? How do I navigate this? He reached for my hand, grounding me. You follow your heart, Leah. It may lead into dark places where shadows linger, but sometimes those are the very places we discover what we're made of, the deepest parts of ourselves and our relationships. The weight of his words settled around me, embracing everything with profound clarity, yet still shrouded in uncertainty. I had to confront the forthcoming storm head-on, not just for myself but for Alex. As I turned and hurried out of the cafe, I silently vowed to unravel the maze ahead with him. We would face the truth together. But the thought of what lay within those letters haunted me, revealing shadows that threatened to consume all that we knew. The finale would be intense. I could feel it in my bones, the weight of history crashing onto the shores of our future, each wave tearing through with relentless urgency. I could only hope would emerge whole when the tide receded. But as I opened the door and the cool breeze met my skin, the chilling sensation of impending revelations followed close behind. I felt like I was navigating a path lined with sharp stones, every step hinting at both danger and the promise of new beginnings, and in that moment, I knew, the sacrifices we made for love had edges sharper than we'd ever known. Would I find the courage to unearth those secrets, or would I be swept away in the undercurrents, forever lost in the murky depths? Just then, a realization struck like lightning. If I had it my way, Alex would not be the only one unearthing truths today. I would unravel my hidden fears, the very horror born from the love we cherished and the burdens we inherited. Together, we would face whatever darkness awaited us, even if it meant confronting the shadows cast by those we'd lost. Every step felt like wading through molasses as I walked back home. The streets, slickened by the rain, mirrored the tumult swirling inside of me. Each raindrop seemed conspired to drown me in my own thoughts, the heavy sirens of unease amplifying with every echo of my footsteps. Would Alex's letters reveal more than just secrets of his mother? Would they lay bare our own fragilities exposed beneath the harsh light of truth? The soft glow of the porch light came into view like a beacon, and yet dread coiled around my heart, tighter with each inch I moved towards it. What awaited beyond the door? Revelation or destruction? Inside, the air was thick with the scent of Alex's cologne, a comfort that now felt foreign, laced with apprehension. I closed the door quietly, allowing the darkness of the room to wrap around me like a shroud. As I entered the dimly lit space, the silence felt portentous, almost alive, as if it were holding its breath, waiting for me to make the first move. That I spotted him sitting at the kitchen table, the letters sprawled in front of him like the aftermath of a storm. He looked up, and the shadows under his eyes told me he was already as deep as I was, perhaps deeper in this sea of uncertainty. Leah, he said, voice raw, a trail of emotions connected in the air between us. I've been waiting for you. His words hung, heavy with everything that remained unspoken. That I took a shaky breath, the urge to explain crumbling under the weight of my silence. As I approached, I noticed the tremors in his hand, the way it gripped an envelope like a lifeline. You found something, I whispered, trying to navigate the sharp edges of the moment. That he nodded, eyes widening with a mixture of resolve and vulnerability. I had no idea Mom didn't just keep secrets from me, she carried these unspeakable burdens. It all points to something I never imagined. The way he spoke was as if the very foundations of his reality were shifting, threatening to collide into chaos. I wanted to reach out, to bridge the chasm that opened between us, but the words caught in my throat. It felt as if we were on the precipice of a cliff, peering down into unknown depths. What did you find? I finally managed, my voice cracking, each syllable bearing the weight of a heavy heart. He hesitant, staring at the letters with a far-off gaze. They aren't just letters, Leah. They're confessions. Regrets. She talked about her life, the choices she made. Her love for me and a person I never knew existed. My heart raced. A person? His mother had kept more than secrets buried in those letters. Please, Alex. What do you mean? He picked up a letter, visibly trembling as he unfolded the aged paper. There's a name here, someone who was important to her before me. A part of her life that she never shared. I never thought my mother would hide something so monumental that he read aloud, his voice trembling as he spoke the unfamiliar name, Emily. The name hung in the air, a gossamer thread connecting me to a mystery I couldn't yet comprehend, but one that intertwined with our lives. What had this Emily meant to him? To Alex's mother? I swallowed hard, thoughts of what could have been raced through my mind. Why didn't you ever ask her about her past? I asked, my voice barely a whisper above the sharpness of his pain that I thought I knew her completely. He replied, raw and honest. But now I feel like I don't know her at all. I wish I had taken the time to understand her before she was gone. A lump formed in my throat as I thought of the uncharted territories of love, how it could weave complex tapestries of longing and regret. I stepped closer and placed a hand on his arm, grounding us both in that moment. Alex, we can still understand her together. He looked up at me, the shadows of sorrow softening into something more vulnerable, hope mingled with desperation. But how do we do that? He asked, searching my eyes for answers. What do we do with these feelings? The hurt, we confront them, I said softly. We embrace the pain and seek to understand the truths hidden within it. Every fiber of my being was pulling me towards him, not just to comfort, but to brave the storms together, to unearth the fullness of his mother's being while facing the shadows cast over our own lives, together, he whispered, almost cautiously, as if admitting his own vulnerability was a leap of faith. But just as hope began to bloom, my phone buzzed violently, sending a jolt through my insides. I fished it from my pocket with nervous hands, eyes fixed on the screen. It was a message from James. I've been thinking about what you said. There's something important we should discuss. I might not be the only one with secrets. My heart dropped, confusion converging with dread, layering itself like a dark fog around us. What more could there possibly be? The weight of the unknown pressed on my chest, and I felt Alex watching me, a mirror of guarded curiosity etched across his features. Who is it? He asked, his brow furrowed, sensing my growing unease that I hesitated, frozen in the moment, torn between the revelations unfolding with Alex and the burgeoning uncertainties swirling outside our shared space. It's James. He wants to talk, I said slowly, glancing back at the message, aware that hidden tides were turning. About what? He pushed, his eyes narrowing. I weighed my words, knowing each one added bricks to the wall unfolding between us. About secrets, and maybe more, I admitted, feeling the breath hitch in my throat, half-heartedly wanting to ignore it, but knowing I couldn't. In an instant, shadows moved through the space between us, thickening the air, as if the floor beneath us was haloed in darkness waiting to swallow us whole. We can't run. Not now, Leah, he urged, the intensity in his voice drawing me back from the precipice. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. Promise me you won't hide from the truth from anything. It was not just the weight of his mother's secrets that tremored within me now, but those of my own life that tangled around us like the weeds from forgotten memories. I promise. But as those words left my lips, a darker urgency unfurled, sowing seeds of doubt that took root in the silent space between our souls. There was much more at play here than either of us could yet fathom, and growing fears unfolded deep within my chest. Together we stood on the precipice at dusk, with everything expanding in ways neither of us could foresee. But I knew one thing for certain, whatever awaited us beyond the shore of our current lives, we would have to forge ahead into the uncertain waters, or risk drowning in the weight of unspoken truths. Yet just as I felt the slight glimmer of courageous resolve igniting within, a sudden and shocking thought pierced like a dagger. What if James was not the only one harboring secrets that could unravel everything we had fought to build? The rain drummed against the windows as I stood in our dim kitchen, the air vibrating with the storm both outside and within. Alex and I had taken tentative steps toward unearthing the buried truths of his mother, the tangled histories that lingered like shadows threatening to swallow us whole. And yet, even as we sought clarity, a deeper darkness loomed on the horizon. The weight of my phone buzzed in my hand like a burden I was not yet prepared to carry. "Let's not delay," he urged, backing my resolve with his own. What did James want? The question hung in the air, heavy and foreboding, as if it could tip the scales of our fragile truce that I swallowed hard, the reality of our confessions draping like a veil of uncertainty. Alex had already peeled back layers of grief in the letters found, but there lay another world of secrets just beyond our grasp, the intertwined destinies of his mother and the mysterious Emily. "I'm not sure what he wanted to discuss," I confessed, the words barely escaping my lips. "But he mentioned he might not be the only one with secrets." The silence that followed was deafening, a void filled only with the quiet thunder of the storm outside and the relentless thrum of my heartbeat. Alex's expression darkened, brows knitting together as he wrestled with the gravity of my words. Should we see him? What other secrets could there be? Fear mingled with a fierce protectiveness in his tone, reminding me just how tightly woven our lives were, and how much uncertainty threatened to fray those very threads. I took a step forward, the kitchen light casting soft shadows over his worried face. "We have to face this together, Alex. Whatever James has to say could change everything," I said softly, but with urgent certainty. This was the juncture where the past met the present and demanded reckoning. He nodded slowly, that fierce determination returning to his expression. "Okay, let's meet him." The rain continued to fall in a steady rhythm as we made our way to the coffee, a familiar backdrop now tinged with the tension of our forthcoming revelation. It was a somber echo of the gathering we had shared only hours before, but this time the stakes loomed higher and more foreboding. As we stepped inside, the aroma of coffee mingled with the dampness of the night, pulsating in rhythm with our anxious hearts. James was already there, sitting in the corner with a look of solemnity that hinted at the storm brewing behind his own eyes. As soon as his gaze met ours, he gestured for us to join him. I glanced at Alex, feeling the weight of our shared fears settling heavily on our shoulders. We walked to the table, each of us caught in the tide of what might soon shift our reality irrevocably. "Thank you for coming," he said, his voice low and earnest as we took our seats. "I know this is strange, but what I'm about to share could help all of us understand your mother much more fully." There was a vulnerability to his tone that reminded me of the bittersweet revelations that had arisen earlier. I couldn't shake the feeling that every word was a carefully placed stone on the path of discovery we were forging together. "There are layers to your mother's past that you are both just beginning to scratch the surface of," he continued, leaning in closer. "Each detail is intertwined with emotions that could cut deep if left unexamined. Emily was not just a chapter in your mother's life, she was part of a bigger story." As the weight of his words settled between us, I caught Alex's eye. He needed to hear this. There was a connection here, one that could suddenly turn faces pale or fill the heart with warmth and understanding. "What do you mean, a bigger story?" Alex's question formulated from a place of raw curiosity laced with a tremor of fear. James opened his mouth as if to say something, then hesitated, his gaze flickering from Alex to me, gauging how much truth he should unveil. "The love your mother had for Emily shaped her life in ways even she never fully anticipated. They were closer than you can imagine, and the loss of that relationship colored everything. That came after. It became part of her silence," he stated firmly, his voice weighted with both compassion and urgency. "Emily died in that accident," he continued, and the words struck like sharp shards of glass, slicing through our hearts. "Your mother never fully recovered from that loss. She loved with her whole heart, but loss shadowed that love with regret and unanswered questions." The room around us dimmed momentarily, suffocating us in sorrow as I grasped desperately at understanding. The burden of Alex's mother's silence became clearer, but the implications were so heavy that I felt physically unsteady, my fingers trembling against the wooden table. "Why wouldn't she share this?" Alex murmured, his voice breaking slightly, the sting of confusion and sorrow threading through every syllable. "Why wouldn't she let me in on this part of her life? Because secrets have a way of festering," James whispered, his tone laced with a sorrow that echoed off the walls. "Sometimes people believe they are protecting their loved ones by keeping painful truths to themselves, but in reality, those secrets build walls that can shield them from grace, love, and acceptance." It struck me then that while Alex had been unraveling his mother's hidden past, he had also woven walls of his own, rising from that very silencious silence that had now taken root in our relationship, casting shadows over his undying love for her. I placed my hand over his, an intimate reminder that we were together in this moment, despite the burdens unraveling in front of us. "We can face this together," I murmured, squeezing gently, hoping to shore up the foundations we had been struggling to maintain. "Let's uncover everything together." Alex's gaze met mine, affirming the unspoken bond we shared, each external thread of connection into one strength inviting healing to take root. James leaned back, the tension in his posture easing a touch. He considered us for a moment, taking in the realizations forming the atmosphere between us. "Perhaps it's time your mother's letters and shadows no longer govern your lives," he said finally. "The secrets could be the key." "How?" Alex asked, a wave of cautious hope threading through his voice. James lifted the envelope he had been guarding in his own hands, the parchment worn but distinct, much like the letters Alex had just found. "This contains revelations about Emily, documents that reveal truths your mother had never dared share, and some that may still surprise you. It could very well shift your whole conception of who she was." I glanced at Alex, the sudden rush of ambivalence met with an undercurrent of vulnerability that coursed through him like electricity. From this moment on, our worlds would shift forever. Nothing would be the same. "What do you say to opening the door to that truth?" James asked, his voice holding our fate in the balance. As I looked into Alex's eyes, the emotion pouring from him spoke volumes, unlocking a door I wasn't sure I was ready to walk through. "It's important, Alex," I urged gently. "If we are to understand all that your mother endured, we must peel back these layers." After a moment's agonizing pause, Alex inhaled deeply, and I could see his resolve settle into something more resolute than fear. "Okay. Let's see what it contains." I in that moment, with the whispers of the past swirling around us, I could feel the very fabric of our future stretch to accommodate new understandings. Together, we would confront the ghosts that had haunted us and find the truth that lay entwined in every heartache and shadow. Whatever awaited us on the other side would be part of our journey, and we were ready to step forward together. As James slowly opened the envelope and revealed its contents, the air in the cafe thickened around us, and just like that, we plunged into the unknown, ready to face whatever revelations awaited us with no turning back. Finally stepping away from the demons of the unspoken and toward the radiant hope of understanding, we braced ourselves to carve our own path forward, entwined by love, intention, and the promise of tomorrow. And as the unfolding letters danced before us like fragile threads, I whispered softly in my heart, "Together is our truth."